Great. It's so fantastic to be in a physical conference after all these online conferences. Beautiful. Beautiful to see faces and the crowd. This is good. We are going to have some interactive elements also, a competition in the middle of the presentation. I'll give that at that time a task. Any of you can do that task and participate in a competition. I'll come back to that when it's time. Good. So insights from children. So my background, I have many hats. The hat that Kaspar was referring was Knowit, so I'm working for Knowit for 20 years. I'm also very involved in ICQB. I used to be there for 6 years in the executive committee, and currently I'm also in the board of director of Team MI. But my hat today is the Dragon's hat. So that's my authoring of Dragons Out book. And it's about testing, as you heard. So company background, 4,000 people know it in all Nordic countries, ICQB, global, Team MI, global. But let's go to Dragon's hat. So the discussion today, I'll talk about the book project, how I came to write this Dragons Out book. Then we talk about why should we actually teach testing to children. After that, a bit about fantasy in general, fantasy as a way to explain testing concepts and IT concepts, coding concepts. And then I have some insights and experiences from teachers and from children directly, how they actually learn testing. And in the end, we'll take that into how adults can learn in a similar way. Great, so a book project recap. I have to say the spark to write or tell stories comes from me attending James Whittaker's workshop on storytelling, and he's got these fantastic ideas about how to tell good stories, and the fact that if you tell a compelling, nice story, people will remember your ideas better. You get your ideas through in a much better way. So why didn't you tell stories and add to all the stories in the world? But so why specifically for testing for children? And that's my story, testing for children. That's what I want to talk about, and it's because I think we need more and more testing in the world, and there are already lots of things happening for coding. Coding is being taught in schools, even elementary schools, depending which country, of course, to what extent. There are coding books, there are coding classes and clubs and games about how to learn to code, all that sequential thinking and so on. But not that much about testing. So I think we need to fix that. We need to talk about testing to children and let them know that testing is important, and it could be also your profession. So that's why we need to talk about testing. So the idea about testing book for children came to me when I heard about a Finnish author, Linda Liukas, writing and publishing a Hello Ruby book, which was a kindergarten age book about coding. And at that point, of course, the tester in me said that, we need to talk about testing also to children. And pretty soon it was obvious that I need to write that book. So the time for that was 2018, so that was then when I had time to write the book. We went to Lapland for sabbatical year, and one of the goals I set for myself was to write this book. Year off from work, there must be some time, right? Actually, first half a year disappeared without the book starting, and then I actually started it just because I had promised to myself I will do it. So I authored the book in Finnish that year, and in next half a year, I also translated it immediately to English. So I wanted to publish in two languages at the same time. I also wanted to have really cool illustrations, so I looked for illustrators. I found Adrian Sell, and together we found this style that you can now see on the dragons and everything. So I'm really happy about finding her. To fund the illustration, I needed to set up a crowdfunding campaign, put some of my own money also in there, I think it is definitely worth it because the end result, the dragons are just so beautiful. I just love dragons anyway. Part of the reason why I chose that as a theme. Anyway, book was published in Finnish in 2020 and 2021 it was published in English. So I had two publishers there, Avain in Finland and Austin Macaulay in UK. And also there's a donation campaign. So I tried to get ICT companies and associations to donate software testing books to schools, and that was very big success. And I was even able to give a diploma of donations to the Finnish Minister of Education. So that was a very nice moment. So I'm the author, Kari Kakkonen, my illustrator Adrian Zell. Also the slides that you see here, there's a bigger slide deck that I have put under Creative Commons license, so it can be used by any teacher anywhere in the world. And it's already been translated by volunteers to 17 languages, and its number is increasing all the time. So that's totally a free PowerPoint. But let's talk about fantasy. So how does fantasy work as a way to learn testing? I think it works fantastically. So it's a really good comparison. You can find lots of ideas there. The key idea is that defects are dragons and knights are developers and testers. And obviously knights are battling dragons and in the same way as developers and testers are finding defects and removing defects. So storyline in any fantasy story needs to be attractive and this is a really cool story, and I can express many things through a fantasy story. But let's take some examples. Here we have an annoying dragon. So this dragon is red. It's medium-sized, difficult to find. You know it's there, but it's difficult to find. Once you find it, it's actually quite easy to get rid of. It doesn't fly, small wings. It breathes fire, it likes to eat lambs. So the characteristics of a dragon are important. They are similar to a characteristics of a defect. Now what could that be? What kind of defect? So this dragon represents memory leak dragon. So in a similar fashion, you know it's there, things are getting slower, it's hard to find why exactly things are getting slower, but once you find this problem, it could be a typo on one line of code, it's quite easy to get rid of that. So annoying dragon is a memory leak dragon. Let's take another example, robin dragons. So there are lots of different dragons, as you can see, gray, green, big and small. Some fly, some have two heads. Some of these are hard to get rid of, some are easy to get rid of, some are hard to find, some are easy to find. They have a common characteristic that they all steal food and treasure. So what kind of defects come in this sort of variety? Well, functional defects. So even I would say most of the defects are functional defects. Things go wrong, but sometimes a wrong calculation doesn't mean anything, and sometimes it's really crucial. It can kill people. So robin dragons are functional defects. Analogy works nicely. Here's another example of a mean dragon. So a mean dragon is a black one that also flies. It has very hot fire. It likes to steal food in secrecy. So the key here is secrecy, and it's black. Any guesses what kind of a defect? It is security defect. Yeah, like black hats. And so lots of meanings there, lots of hidden gems and comparisons there. So obviously you need to get rid of those vulnerabilities as well, so that any criminal is not going to use those vulnerabilities to break into your systems and steal something. Let's take another example, underground dragon. So underground dragons are not flying, rather they are making tunnels. They are crawling through their tunnels into cellars of villages, of castles, and then they steal the food from those cellars. Now what kind of a dragon, what kind of a defect is under something that is a hardware defect? So sometimes you test things, you think first, of course, it's a software defect, but under closer inspection, you realize, it's actually a problem with a device or any hardware. And then you need to replace that piece of hardware. There are also nice dragons, of course. I have nice dragons for multiple reasons. One is that there are good dragons, there are good defects, but there's also another good reason, which is the pilot readers. I had lots and lots of children and adults as pilot readers, and many said that, why do you always need to kill the dragons or get rid of the dragons? Dragons are nice. We all love dragons. And I said, yeah, so do I. And you know what? There are good dragons. There are nice dragons that actually help people. So there are good defects. So what are these good defects? Well, they are defects that have been put into the software on purpose. So that's defect seeding defects or mutation testing defects. And so the idea of this principle is that you put number of defects all around the software, and then you test. And once you have found all these different defects from your software, you also have found all the real defects. So this is a test coverage technique, really. So there are good dragons as well. There are good defects. Example about knights. So as I said, knights are both developers or programmers and testers. And I think as things are nowadays in Agile and DevOps teams, people are together in teams. You may not have particular roles or hats, but you do have testing tasks and so on. So I think knights here are both coders and testers. So they work together, they find the defects, they remove the defects, or rather the knights find the dragons and kill the dragons. Other people also do testing, as we all know. It's not only the professionals who test, it's also users. Sometimes users test on purpose, sometimes accidentally when the problem is there in the production environment. So villagers and children also here represent users. So they can spot a dragon somewhere out there, it's coming, and they can call for the knights to help. In a similar fashion, users test and let the professionals know that there is a problem, and then they can fix it. There are also hunters, and hunters are a specific type of villager. So they actually can kill a dragon sometimes, if it's not too bad, a small dragon. And so in a similar fashion, in IT, of course, you have operations or IT support, so people who are maintaining the systems, and so sometimes they can fix things on their own, but if there's a bigger problem, they would need to go back to the development team to ask them to fix it. And obviously, as we know, in DevOps world, hunters would be part of the team of knights, so they could be together. Of course, somebody needs to pay the bill. So lords and ladies maintain armies of armies of knights who defend castles, and in the same fashion, management or leadership or POs are the people who are maintaining or paying a bill of creating software and also testing it. So that's a good analogy. And the last analogy example is sages. So wise men or wise women, or sometimes you could say wizards. So these would be experts on something, but the expertise that the team doesn't have. And so typically it could be usability or security or performance. Some external people who help the team, or maybe with the team from time to time, actually even for quite a long time. Okay, so that's some ideas about dragon and knight examples for you. And now, this is the competition now. So we need some volunteers. Kaspar has a box of paper and pens somewhere here. And so if anybody wants to take part of the exercise, you pick some paper and pen, and then you draw a knight. So imagine a tester what would be a good tester, and if a tester was a knight, what would the knight look like? Is it a powerful tester? Maybe the knight needs to have a sword in his hand or her hand. Or, yeah. So imagine a tester that's a knight. Once you have drawn your knight, or it could be any character, take a photo of that particular picture and then upload it to Padlet. Padlet is available through that QR code, so you take your phone, you read that QR code, and then it's very easy to upload your photo there. And actually, we just agreed, how do we do the draw after my talk, so in about 15 minutes. After the talk, we'll do a draw. So we'll take a look at the different oh, we don't have it here. I think I need Kaspar to come back. Anyway, if I go to Padlet, you'll see the Padlet. You'll see the Padlet when you open it, and so all of the all of the knights that everybody here draws will be there, and we'll take a random pick of one of those knights. Or you could just put your name if you don't want to draw. You can still participate in a competition. And that happy somebody will win this book here. Okay, so that's your task. So I'm going to go to the next slide momentarily. So if you want to participate, take that QR code into your mobile phone now so that you can upload it. I can come back to it in the end, and in the meanwhile, next 15 minutes, while you listen to me, you can also draw. Okay, let's move on. Good. It's not moving on. Like this. Here we go. Okay. So next bit is some feedback. So how have the teachers and testers taken this approach? So I've talked to lots of teachers, I've talked to lots of children, I've run a few surveys to get some numbers as well. It seems this approach works very well for kids from age 10 to 15. So that would be in elementary school, maybe like 4th grade to 9th grade, roughly, depending on the school system where you are, of course. So that's the big picture. I asked many questions in a survey, and I have a few here. One question was, on which class you actually would teach testing? And my assumption was that it would be math. And actually, there's in the middle people wanting some paper. So math was my assumption, but actually teachers answered coding classes. Well, obviously, if you have coding classes, then you would teach testing with coding. I had the same question in teacher trade fair for all the teachers coming to my booth there, and actually those teachers answered, same number of them said math is a good place for this kind of teaching, and also coding came up high again. Still, the big picture, I think, is interesting. You can use this sort of approach on pretty much any class. It could be your mother tongue class because you read a book. It could be arts class because you are drawing pictures. Some of the exercises are drawing pictures. So this night's drawing exercise is something that's in the book. So lots of children are doing that. So you are now experiencing it already. Another question I asked was, what's interesting about this kind of approach? And so children seem to like dragons in a story more than the content. Understandable, even my idea. I had the same question both for the teachers who got those donations, which these numbers here, and then at the teacher trade fair. Similar answers. So I think the key thing and key learning is that if you have an interesting and compelling story, people will listen to the story, that will keep their interest up and running, and even as a side effect, they learn important things, like testing in this case. So, whatever you want people to learn, think of an interesting story that can help you get your message across. Next question I had was, where would you learn this sort of testing approach? Would it be in an actual class or after school as a homework, or maybe before a class where you talk about testing? And the majority of teachers said that it would be actually in the class, so people do it together. And the similar answer came from the teacher trade fair. Class is a place to be. And I think this is a good learning, and not surprising at all. People like to learn together. This is why we are all here together today, right? We are here to learn together different things, get new ideas. So next I have 5 questions that I posed to children. First one was, what is testing? So after they have been reading these books and etc. What is testing? So they have to say, testing is finding bugs. True. It's fight with dragons. Well, not surprisingly. There are dragons in the books. It's going through software at different angles. It's good learning. It's not that complicated. And it's just using software. It's also true. And it's fun. Great. I think this is something we can all learn. Testing is fun. It doesn't need to be hard work. It can be and it should be also fun. Next question was, how do you test? Well, lots of answers there, different values, different things, looking for interesting things or strange things, using checklists, just observing when you use software. Again, I think we can learn from this. Children learn like this, and I think so should we. Next question was, why do you need testing? So what is the purpose? Well, so that there won't be bugs. Oh yeah. So that software would work correctly. Obvious. So that I could play a game faster. Well, this is how children view software. Usually, when I've been a guest lecturer in multiple schools and run this session with children. And usually, when I say that, okay, now you can pick a software from your phone and let's test a little bit, we always pick up a game, always. No, almost always. I think somebody sometimes used YouTube. But anyway, it's almost always a game. So they think, not surprisingly, that software is games. And also to have good software, that's a good reason as well. And there was a question, how do you learn testing? Well, different ways, reading, testing, trying out things, drawing dragons. You are drawing knights right now. And my final question to children was, what do you do with testing in the future? And the answers come in 3 categories. Well, I need to code so I can test. I need to test as well. I could be a testing professional, and some kids would say, not for me. I picked 2 quotes there. I want to be a software tester when I grow up. When I heard this, I was like, whew, wow, my dream come true. I made my message. Kids want to be testing professionals. Another quote from an 11-year-old girl, I want to be a coder, and so I need to test too. So also a very good outcome. You code, you test, you need both. Good. Okay, let's move on. I also put together a checklist based on how children have tested, and so here are it's an easy checklist and there's an advanced checklist. The point is that children come up with most useful checklists. We can utilize these too. Let's not go into depth with those. In general, I would say you can combine different learning approaches. So it's not only about reading something or listening to somebody talk, it's also about exercising. So testing, using the skills that you are learning. That's what I've learned of kids from this project. Next few slides are about some research I did around how kids learn, and obviously they learn in multiple ways. We all know that. They are natural in trying things out. That's one aspect, but they also learn in multiple ways, like remembering or also identifying with their idols. Research also says that many learning strategies is a good thing. So it's not only my finding, also research supports that, and not surprisingly, we all know this. Concerning storytelling, there's an interesting piece here which says that storytelling actually works for any type of learner. You might think it's only good for auditory learner who wants to listen to a story, but it actually works to anybody. Kinesthetic learners, visual learners, it works to everybody. And it's easier to remember things through a story. So storytelling is the way to go. And who should learn? Or how young can you be when you start learning testing? I would say testing is actually quite complex topic. If you want to do a good job, a very thorough job, look at your software on different angles, test it very thoroughly, it's a complex job. Anybody can try things, but the coverage won't be good. So if you want to understand the complexity of testing, that's actually a complex topic, and when this piece of research says that you need to be 10 or so, 11 or so, to start learning complex topics. So that's a good point. So I've taken all these, both my experiences with the book project and some research, to 6 points, 6 takeaways. How do you teach testing to children? First one is that you want to have a fantasy example and always explain the interesting story into the real life of ICT, coding and testing. Next one is being extremely simple, extremely concise. Whatever testing concept, you can actually express that in a few words only. Just think about it, be very concise. Another point is that you want to have lots of exercises. Some theory, lots of exercises. That's the good balance. Next point is use all the senses. So not only reading or using computer, testing in that way, but also drawing, having fun, playing games. So that's an approach I've taken. And then sharing what we do. So it's learning together. So it was very good. I was taking this guest lecture tasks because I learned that the most fun element to children seemed to be sharing the results of exercises. So they would I used a Padlet like you are using now also. They would upload their pictures, and that was the most fun element when they asked later what was best. Well, sharing our dragon pictures. And last bit was test immediately, so that's important. Next, I've taken these 6 points into adults. So I have 1 slide each, but here they are in the list first. So let's look at them through the 1 slide each. So the analogy. Well, fantasy might not work for early adults. I know lots of people like fantasies. They love the Tolkien and etc. Lord of the Rings, but I do. But for some people, it could be something you're familiar with. It could be your favorite hobby. It could be your car. It could be your everyday routines, or cooking, like we heard today. So anything. So make your analogy to something that your audience knows, and then you'll get your message across. Another point for adults is concise communication. So it's not only for children where you need to be very straightforward and concise. It's also for adults. So whatever testing message you want to convey, you can just express it very clearly. And it also, of course, carries on to when you actually test. It's very important to explain clearly, why do you test? Why do we need to do all these tests? And if we find defects, why is it important that we fix these defects? Very clearly. Concerning exercises and hands-on, I think a way to learn is always doing exercises. I mean, you do need to explain a bit of theory if you have a new concept, but still go to hands-on exercise as quickly as you can. I think that's a big learning, and that's also a learning that ICTQB has taken in several past years. So hands-on exercises, it's a good idea. Use all the senses. So for adult learning, it's too easy to look at the slides, listen to somebody talk, and then just be passive. That's not the way to go. I would encourage all of you to use more senses. So easiest of those is your touch, sense of touch, right? So you take a piece of pen, you keep notes, or like some people are drawing now. So you do something with your hands, and even if you never read your notes, you still have learned better. So you just keep notes when you try to learn something. You can throw away those notes, but you'll have learned better. So my favorite way to keep notes is mind map. That's why the picture there. Well, it used to be, and nowadays I'm actually using the next one, which is about the point about sharing. So when you share, for us adults, it would be common shared whiteboard tools like Mural or Miro, or obviously a physical whiteboard as well. So my favorite tool these days is actually Mural, where you can have physical sticky notes. So that works as a group memory. Everybody can access it, everybody can add information, everybody can agree what we have learned or tested. Last bit is start testing immediately. Sometimes that could be difficult. Maybe you don't have access to your company's test environment at the moment, or you can't practice there. My solution has been for many years to talk to startup companies and ask from startup companies, can we use your software, your test environment? And usually they are happy to give access for testing classes in return of us promising that, yes, we will tell you if we find defects. So it's a win-win. It's free testing for them. It's a really good idea. Great. All right, so that was the talk. Thank you very much. You can follow me in a number of places. Obviously, you can get some books from the link, or I have a few copies here I can sell afterwards and sign. But now I think we will go to the competition. So I think I need Kaspar's help here to get this Padlet to the screen. And so Padlet has lots of dragons there. Wait, there it is. Yeah. All right. All right. Oh, you can see it there. Yeah. Good, good. All right. So I think I'll just ask Kaspar to give a number. Let's see how many there are first. Oops. I'm gonna scroll. Kaspar, help! I can't scroll.
These IT people, you really.
This is difficult. How do I scroll that?
Hang on.
Yeah, I love this. I love these nights. Great nights. Great nights. Okay, another try. 1, 2, 3. So the key here is that I will ask Kaspar, or actually I will ask somebody from the audience to give a number, a random number, but it must be between the 1 and what's the maximum of answers we have. Okay, thank you. So that's
so
roughly.
I'm not allowed to look at the screen, am I?
Okay, so that's roughly okay.
Let's hope nobody trolled.
I think we'll take a number between 1 and 20. 1 and 20. So can I ask you to say anything from 1 and 20? Between 1 and 20? 19? Okay, 19. Numbers are changing. 19, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Going down. Trying to go down. Again, I can't move it.
2 fingers.
What is this? I am unable to move it. Kaspar, help!
The environment, I don't know.
It is a weird environment. It doesn't work as usual. Okay, here we go. Okay, yeah, okay. 5, 6. What's here? That's 10. 11, 12. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. This is the winner. Sir Quality. Can we have the drawer of Sir Quality up here, please?
We need to see
are
proof.
Sir Quality.
Thank you.
Here we go.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's proof. That's good. This is congrats on winning.
Okay.
There you go.
Well, thank you very much. My second copy, in fact. I bought one already. So.
What a coincidence. Excellent.
Thanks a lot.
Good luck. Thanks, everybody. Any questions now?
Yeah, so thank you, Kari. Thank you, Sir Quality. Questions now. Oh, come on, guys. We need to get some questions in, right? Oh, finally. We are so relieved. Although I'm looking forward to the question assurance.
Going with a very simple question, what's your favorite dragon in this context?
Favorite dragon? Are we knights? Dragon. My favorite dragon would be, I think, a two-headed dragon. It's difficult, severe, dangerous, and I think it looks very cool. So that's why I've chosen it to be on the cover. But yeah, I think it comes back to it being a bad defect. Yeah. Good question. Any other questions?
There's one. What? Do dragons have also bugs?
Bugs. Dragons have bugs. Defect within a defect. I think so. No, we're just defects. Okay.
Which dragon would you equate to for something like a backdoor or a rootkit? Does any of those exist in this context?
No, none of these would be that. There are, of course, lots and lots of different kind of dragons. So that could be one, the security defect, be black dragon. Yeah, that's closest to it.
Sounds fair.
But probably I need to make a version of it now that you get the idea. Yeah.
Food for thought for the second book.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, there's one question.
Behind there.
Hi, thanks for writing such a nice book. So I was just wondering, what are you going to do with your next sabbatical? And would you be up for teaming up with some game developers for you to turn it into a game?
Yeah, I've been looking for a game, and that's one of the reasons why I developed this sort of art with Adri, my illustrator. I wanted to have something that could be made into a game character or movie or cartoon or anything like that. So at the same time it needs to be complex enough, but at the same time simple enough so that it could be 3D animation, for example. So yeah, I've been looking into that. Time for that is not yet, maybe in a year or two. Although if anybody has any gaming contacts, I'm happy to talk to people.
Coming soon to a theater near you.
Yeah, soon we'll have a next movie out there.
Here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Your book does an analogy with our life as a creator. What would be the appropriate age for introduce this kind of thing for a kid, as your opinion?
Proper age for reading this kind of book? I think any age actually works. I've been saying from 10 to 99 is a good age, but I think 10 to 15 is probably the better ballpark. I have the youngest reader so far that I have heard was a 4-year-old girl. So her father bought the book and next day posted in LinkedIn that in the evening the girl had wanted to have more and more stories. So they had as a night story in the evening. So he had read to his girl 3 stories, and then the girl had said, "I want to sleep with this book. This is the best book ever." And in the morning, she was still sleeping with the book here next to her. And the father took a photo of this sleeping girl and put it in LinkedIn, so that's how I know. So this story works even for a 4-year-old. Did she learn testing? I don't think so, but I think she will come back to it because now she loves the book. Yeah.
Over here. Was there anything that surprised you while working on the book or publishing this book or presenting this book to kids and teachers?
I think the biggest surprise was how slow publishing industry is. That was the biggest surprise, definitely. But concerning how the characters worked and the fantasy worked, how kids were eager to learn about testing concepts, that was pretty much as I expected. No big surprises there in that way. So yeah, it was really publishing part that was a surprise. That was lots more work than I thought, and it took a lot longer than I thought. And so now I'm working with translations of a book or to many languages, and I have very inspired translators, some colleagues in different countries. But I think any of those now I know reality. I'm saying 2 or 3 years, and maybe it will be there. Even though somebody is translating a book today to like Hungarian, for example. Yeah. But still, even if anybody of you wants to write the book, don't be discouraged. I mean, authoring a book is an amazing experience. You should do it. And there are quicker ways to do, like authoring and publishing in Leanbub, like we heard earlier today, which is on your own pace. Any other questions?
I think we can take the last one. I think
okay.
Mart, you had one, right?
No.
Nope.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's call it an end then.
There is one.
Okay. One more?
Is there a question or
There's a question there. Okay, so that's the last question.
Very good.
What is most or one of the interesting things that children found when they tested games and YouTube?
I didn't get that. Can you repeat?
When you asked children to open software for testing and they opened games and YouTube, what was the interesting thing they found?
They found, I think mostly they found usability things when they tested different software. The biggest reason, of course, is that usually when they test something on their own phones, it's a production environment, so usually they find issues with usability or performance, so speed or usability. Yeah. But really clever notices as well. They would make excellent usability experts. Really. Great. Thank you. I'm here afterwards.
Thank you all for the questions. Well, I still have a final one for you. You've taught all these children to test.
Yeah.
And I suppose you should be seeing a lot of scared faces around the hall here. I mean, what's your attitude towards child labor?
Right. Well, we are not, of course, doing it as a profession. We are just learning.
Be very afraid. But anyway, thank you, Kari. And a little token of appreciation.
Thank you.